Yo, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's 12:51 p.m. Pacific time. It's September 3rd, 2025. Let's begin. Democrats are making 2028 moves. Here's what to know. Democrats world president in 2028 are already quietly and not so quietly making moves. They're visiting early primary states, workshopping material, formulating plans. This week it's Kentucky's Governor Andy Beshear in South Carolina. Last week it was California Governor Gavin Newsom. Why pension now? The next general election is until 2028. Why are people paying attention to this right now? First of all, because some people want us to be paying attention. Gavin Newsom didn't go to South Carolina just as any state go to. He picked a state, a presidential primary, so we talk about it as others have done. J.B. Pritzker was in New Hampshire at the end of April. Pete Buttigieg went to Iowa, even though it's not a presidential state anymore. This is an ongoing process of candidates to people pay attention and workshop some of their material. We also see among a lot of Democrats a deep desire to get past the Donald Trump era. Even though the Trump era is still very new, one of the things even that Newsom was saying in South Carolina was we put an end to this in 18 months. He's talking about the midterms, but it's that Democrats don't need to just wallow in the horror and misery that they've been in since election day of 2024. What are the early days to launch? Biden forced a lot of changes in the primary process for Democrats, including Iowa not really being an early state for them anymore. What's the early map to look like now? Biden did push through some changes, especially making South Carolina first, but some of the other changes, particularly moving Iowa off of the early state calendar, were very much supported by a lot of people in the Democratic National Coalition. We'll see what the calendar ends up looking like. The chances that Iowa gets back to a primary position seem very low. And the chances that New Hampshire gets back to the first in the nation spot that actually is required by New Hampshire state law seem much higher. We won't know the full answer on the calendar until at least sometime in 2026, and there is a lot of wrangling back and forth among the states and among the DNC members. What's definitely true, though, is that no matter what arrangement will come, it seems that New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada will remain early. Where exactly they are, it is a little bit unclear. Gavin Newsom, why could he win, and why would he have trouble? Newsom had a real breakout moment over response to what was going on in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, and that very quickly identified him in people's mind as the face of the renaissance to what Trump was doing rather than just talking about it. He's a very skilled retail campaigner and speaker, but there are obstacles he will have to overcome. People who think that he's maybe too California, he was the mayor of San Francisco, too liberal in some people's minds, too slick, just having a California air. All that stuff is what he needs to overcome. Other than Kamala Harris, has never been a Democratic nominee for West Coast. Kamala Harris, could she do it again in the crowded primary? She's obviously thinking about running for governor of California, and I've done reporting that says that she's in that direction, leaning in that direction. What is also clear is that she and her closest advisors realize that it's one or the other. You can't run for governor and then turn around and run for president right away, unless your name is Richard Nixon. He ran for governor in 1962 and then didn't end up running for president again until 1968. Her goal, if she runs, would be to win and not read the same thing. Wolf said, moving east in the middle country, there's J. Whistler and Rahm Emanuel in Illinois. There's New Michigan resident Pete Buttigieg and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Let's start with Buttigieg, someone who actually won an early contest in 2020. The Bernie Sanders folks were still protest this, but Buttigieg did win the Iowa caucus, and he came in a healthy second in the New Hampshire primary. He has spent the first 6 months of Trump's second presidency doing a lot of podcasts and outreach to what would be classified these days as the manosphere, Republican leaning or low propensity voters. He regularly is embraced by of the way that people to break down Democrats' arguments and break apart Republican arguments. That said, his jobs leading up to now have been to the major of a pretty small city, South Bend, Indiana, and then he was transportation secretary. But part of his from when he was running in 2019, and he and I talked about it then, was that we are living in an age of Donald Trump's politics, where it's more about what you're able to do and how you're able to communicate what you're doing that than about exactly what job you've had in the government. Maybe that's an opening for him. I think that most people assume that he would be a reasonable, stronger contender, at least if he runs. Gretchen Whitmer, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is an obvious choice, but she said she's not running. A lot of people say they won't run for president until they do. Barack Obama insisted he wasn't running. Whitmer has a lot of strength in Michigan, obviously a key state for Democrats. She won two tough races there by in the end pretty comfortable margins. She is quite popular in Michigan as far as one can be in these polarized times, and she has in these first 6 months of Trump takes a different route than a lot of other Democrats. She tried to find ways to work with Trump, and she feels like that is a good way of being the governor and also delivering for swing areas of the state. Of course, that has frustrated a lot of Democrats who feel like she's been used by Trump and turned into a prop by him. Whether it was at the office when they had that meeting a couple of months ago, or when he then fled to Michigan to announce this new shipbuilding and had her come to the podium. She said that she did get investment and it makes a big difference for Michigan shipbuilding. J.B. Pritzker. Let's go across the lake to Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, the only billionaire on the list. Yes, will that Democratic Socialist wing of the Democrat Party go for a billionaire? I sat in New Hampshire at the end of April with Pritzker. Was there to speak to the big Democratic dinner there, and I asked him that exact question when there was such a push among a lot of Democrats against wealthy and oligarchs and all of that. How would they vote for a billionaire? He said to me, it's about values, and he feels like he's been pushing the values. He's not apologetic about his family wealth. In fact, he says that he has used it toward helping other Democrats win, and through his personal political relations and a PAC, he has put quite a few dollars into everything from the state parks to specific things and to ballot initiative efforts. His strength will be that he's running for re-election now to a third term. A lot of things that he has done as governor fall into the category of Trump moving the state, and some fall into the category of trying to make the state a center laboratory for all sorts of things. Rahm Emanuel, there is a former mayor of Chicago who is clearly trying to stop the idea that he would is Rahm Emanuel. White House Chief of Staff, former ambassador, and former congressman. Actually, serious. Don't worry. He's talking about running more in terms of the concept of what he will bring to the argument or debate of how Democrats should be moderate and how they show talk about things in different way than in the normal way of a potential candidate. Moving south, what about a moderate governor from any otherwise red state? That's Andy Bashir's argument. Bashir's argument that he won and won comfortably among the types of voters that most Democrats have given up, even trying to appeal to and done in every state. Kentucky hasn't had a Democrat other than him and his father. Okay, so all right, let's run it back real quick. Moving south, what about a moderate governor from an otherwise red state? That's Andy's argument that he won and won comfortably among the types of voters that most Democrats have given up even trying to appeal to, and done in any state. Kentucky that hasn't had a Democrat other than him and his father competitive statewide for years. He's done it while not shying away from Democratic positions on issues like abortion rights and even trans kids, but as he also spent some in South Carolina this week, he's unabashedly starting to test how much appetite there is for his lower key in both positions and personality approach. Wes Moore, let's go to the Mid Atlantic. Let's talk about Wes Moore, governor of Maryland, and then Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania. Wes Moore is clearly a very charismatic, appealing figure who has caught the eye of a lot of Democratic intelligentsia for having a motivational, optimistic approach to how he speaks. Does not have as much of a legislative as some of the other governors, which is notable in that Democrats have full control of the legislature in Maryland. So there may be some questions about what he has done and what he has been able to actually make happen when he's up against other governors, although he has also said he's not running for president. Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro clearly is somebody that everybody is watching. Will he run? We even have an official announcement that he's running for a second term as governor, although he will. What he has managed to do from when he was an attorney general through when he was running for governor through 3 years as governor is have extremely high popularity ratings in Pennsylvania. That's among Democrats and Republicans, and in a state that has become such a swing state. For someone who's unbiased Democrat to have that kind of reception is really a demonstration of the way that he approaches his governing and his outreach to the state. He has been very low profile in terms of national politics over the course of these first 6 months of the Trump term. Most people probably haven't heard from him at all, other than the terrible incident with the arson of the governor's mansion when he was there with his family on the first night of Passover. That is deliberately effort for him to stay focused on Pennsylvania. One of the questions over the next year or two as he runs through a re-election is how much does he start to pop onto the national radar. Usually a list like this is full of senators. Who could be on it? I would put Cory Booker from New Jersey, Chris Murphy from Connecticut, Mark Kelly from Arizona, and Ruben Gallego from Arizona. Anyways, the next, Bernie Sanders. We've had Bernie Sanders, a very popular alternative in recent elections. He must be too old at this point who inherits his mantle. Who are we to say who is too old? He will run. He will turn 87 by election day 2028. That would make him by far the oldest president that we've ever had, even outdoing the Biden and Trump records. Most people do not expect that he will be running for president again. The question of who inherits this mantle is a big one, and most people would put their money on Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is going to have some decisions coming up about whether she sets her eyes on running for president or running for Senate. There's an election in 2028 that is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's seat. Whether he decides to run or she runs against him, or whether she just builds up her power by gaining seniority in the House. She obviously quite young and she has done more with her House seat already than almost anybody ever has in that amount of time. If not her, then I think there is a big open question about who would it be. Rep. Ro Khanna, the congressman from California, who was a co-chair of Sanders' campaign in 2020, has been making clear that he is exploring a presidential run and hoping to have some of Hat's support. If she doesn't run and he doesn't run, get that kind of support, then I think there would be a question of whether there's someone else that could be the right vessel for that, or whether it could be it would diffuse between multiple candidates. Wild card. What about a complete outsider? There's a boundlet of interest in the ESPN analyst Stephen A. Smith. Is there room for a wild card? Trump is the first president in history to be president without having served in a military of government role beforehand, so who knows? There are a lot of people who you could see thinking that they would be that person. There's was some reporting 4 years ago that Iger, the Disney CEO, talked about maybe he should run. Whether would it be business people or celebrities, Trump has made it clear that you could come from outside the political scene and do it. Other people who have thought about it have turned away because they have not wanted to have their lives picked over the way that we do to political candidates. There's even a new movie in which John Cena plays the president of the United States, and the gimmick is that he is an action hero who then just gets elected because of that. Again, I appreciate y'all joining. I appreciate y'all coming in. Thank you for joining. Follow me on Instagram, the Studio 11. Follow me on X, the Studio 2020, and obviously follow me on Instagram and follow me on X. I like to say Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Thank you for joining. I'll see you on the next video. I'll see you on the next one.